All right. So I see a lot of our attendees have joined us. So thank you so much for being here. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mary Catherine Levy. I'm the Director of Women United and Community Engagement at the United Way of Greater Chattanooga. I want to start by letting you all know that this event is being recorded. So just have to say that out loud. So thank you so much for joining us today for our Continuing the Conversation series. We're so glad that you're here. Today's topic is about equitable marketing and engagement, and we've got some really great panelists here for some wonderful conversation for you today. A couple of things before we get started. Today's event is hosted by United Way's Emerging Leaders and Women United groups. And today's event is sponsored by our friends at Mutual of America. So we want to say thank you so much to Mutual of America for making this event a possibility today. Now, if you're new with us, I want to tell you a little bit more about Women United and Emerging Leaders. These are engagement groups hosted within the United Way of Greater Chattanooga to provide young professionals and women in our region with opportunities for community engagement through networking, volunteer opportunities, and educational events like this one. We host these things throughout the year. These groups give you the opportunities to learn more about how United Way is working within our community to make impactful strides in the areas of education, stability, and health and well-being. Now, after the event is over today, be on the lookout for a follow-up email from us about how you can get plugged in with Women United and Emerging Leaders. We will also be providing a recording of this event along with my contact information and Hannah Norman's contact information, if you ever want to reach out to us about how to get a little more involved. So now I'm going to pass it over to Hannah. Hannah is United Way's Community Engagement Specialist, and she is going to introduce our panelists and our moderator for us today.
Thanks so much, Mary Catherine. And to our panelists, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate your time. I would first like to introduce Donna L. Harrison, who is the Director of Cultural Tourism and Inclusive Marketing at Chattanooga Tourism Company. Donna has over 20 years of experience in the public eye as a radio host, TV personality, and women's advocate, and is an expert when it comes to all things media, marketing, and engagement. Our next panelist is Lucia Cook, who is the Director of Talent Acquisition at Shaw Industries. Lucia recently served as the Diversity and Inclusion Leader at Shaw and brings over 20 years of experience and has gained tremendous practical knowledge in employee relations, organizational development, and team building. Rounding out our panel today is Quincy Jenkins. Quincy is the first Executive Director of Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity at Chattanooga State Community College. Prior to joining Chat State, Quincy served as the Director of Hispanic Latino Outreach at Dalton State, becoming the first Hispanic serving institution in Georgia. And finally, I would like to introduce our moderator, Leah Kimbrough, who is the Events and Outreach Manager at the Enterprise Center and also serves on the Emerging Leaders Leadership Committee. Like I said, thank you so much for being here today. And Leah, I'm going to turn it over to you to get us started.
Thank you, Hannah, and thank you everyone for joining us. Like she mentioned, I am the Events and Outreach Manager for the Enterprise Center, and I'm also a part of United Way's Emerging Leaders. I am super excited about today's discussion because I'm also a graduate of MTSU and I received my bachelor's in marketing. So I was already excited about this conversation. When I got a chance to moderate it, got me even more excited. And then even before today, we got a chance to meet virtually with the panelists. And even with that short amount of time in our conversation, I learned a lot of great points from them. And I'm just excited for you guys to hear what they have to say. So let's dive right into that, giving an introduction, a little bit more information about them. So we'll start with Quincy. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Quincy Jenkins. Really great to be here with you today in the United Way. I've seen some people I recognize on the attendees list, so hello to everyone who I know. I am, as Hannah just said, the inaugural Executive Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion here at Chattanooga State. And I've been here for a little under a year. May 1st will be a year. So I started under a pandemic. I'm still working under a pandemic, but it's been a wonderful opportunity to see some things we said on campus. We just completed our first employee climate survey to have some recommendations on campus to build a more strong sense of belonging. So we have some data that we're using. And so if you have any questions about diversity, equity, inclusion in particular, just let me know, and I'll be happy to chat with you all about it.
Thank you, thank you. And Donna?
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Leah. My name is Donna L. Harrison. A lot of people do not know me as Harrison, but I am Donna L. in the community, and I'm the Director of Cultural Tourism. So anything that's not outdoors is what I promote with my job when it comes to the marketing realm. So I promote Chattanooga to the world, and I'm excited about. So all of our cultural events, so anything when you think about events, our Tennessee Aquarium, Hunter Museum, all of our amazing arts partners and live music events and things like that. That is majority of my job. And also a part of my job is inclusive marketing. So I'm really excited about that. And before I was there, a lot of people know that I actually was a part of United Way. So great opportunity. I love this community. I've been in media since I was 13 years old, and I just love Chattanooga, and I love our leaders in this community.
We love you. And Lucia?
I get to follow Donna, but good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lucia Cook, and I am currently the Director of Talent Acquisition for Shaw Industries. As it was stated, I was previously in the role of Diversity and Inclusion Leader. I really have just enjoyed being in the space. I come with 20 years of HR knowledge. I actually am an engineer, degreed engineer who decided that I really loved people that much and wanted to see people succeed, and officially made the transition to become an HR professional. So it's been an exciting ride. Would love to continue this conversation as we get right on into it, and appreciate the opportunity today.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's go ahead and get these questions going. And these questions were brought in with the United Way Emerging Leaders and Women's group. So we'll get started with Quincy. Equity, diversity, and inclusion are terms that are being used more now than ever. Please give us your definition of these terms and what they mean to you.
Sure, yeah, because especially now with the kind of situation we're in our country and everything that's been happening, these are front of mind. And so they are all very different terms. And so equity, the best way to think about equity really is to think about it in terms of access. And so through a higher ed lens, the Pell Grant for so long has been used to give low-income students more resources to access college. It's not saying that middle class and upper middle class students don't need help. It's just saying these group of students need more help. So they get Pell Grants open for financial aid. Another way of equity would be the Americans with Disabilities Act. For so long, if you were in a wheelchair, you lived in poverty because you couldn't access buildings or for job interviews. And so the ADA was signed by the first President Bush and put ramps on buildings. And so it just made a more equitable environment. So that's through those with diverse or disabilities. And now we're talking about racial equity, which is, trying to make right years and centuries long of racial injustice. And so how do we best do that in a very broad but thoughtful and intentional manner? Diversity really is just human difference. And so it's just a counting of identities. I am this, I am that. And these are very non-static concepts. And so if I live to be 90 years old, God willing, then I will probably have some type of disability. So my identity as an able-bodied person can change over a lifetime. So most of who we are, we can't see, like my sexual orientation. I'm Black, but my ethnicity may be Jamaican, or it may be Afro-Latino, or then there's gender dynamic. And so all these are very complex concepts, and they all intersect in different and dynamic ways. So we talk about diversity, we have to open ourselves up to just the vastness of human difference in relation to an environment. And inclusion really is just situational. It really speaks to a sense of belonging. And so, how do I operate in this space? If I am Asian American woman, and I'm working in a particular space, well, that looks different in San Francisco than it does in Chattanooga. And so all of this work is all contextual. It's based off the same philosophy and ethics to just alleviate human suffering where you can, whether that's through financial suffering, gender suffering, sexual orientation, racial injustice, and then how do we move those barriers so people can succeed and flourish?
Thank you so much. It's really complex when you think about every term. It's like you can't really pinpoint without talking about something else. So it's very complex. Now let's focus on equitable marketing for a few minutes. Donna, many emerging leaders and Women United members submitted questions for today's event, and several people are interested in knowing what are some of your biggest light bulb moments in shifting marketing strategies to reach a broader community, given all your experience.
All right, so when I think about a light bulb moment on my end, I haven't really had one specifically for myself. But what I've had to realize, like during this process, is that when it comes to marketing, we have to meet people where they are. We're under the assumption that everybody understands it. And so when I'm in always a part of an organization, it's natural for me to go in and say, hey, let me review, let me vet inventory, let me look at all the blogs that we're doing, let me make sure that we're looking at all of our pictures. Do we have diverse vendors? Like, it comes naturally for me, but I have to understand that some people in my organization, they could look like me, they may not look like me, but a lot of people don't think about marketing. And when you have videography, if you have your digital social media, when you have like blogs and public relations, you have to make sure that I would say this is another light bulb moment. You have to make sure that you are empowering the people around you so that they understand exactly what you're doing. So when it comes to marketing, it doesn't make sense if I know everything, right? If I'm the only person in my organization. But I want to make sure that the people around me within that organization, I have buy-in from them and they're excited about inclusive marketing or equitable marketing. So if I'm one person in that organization that's really focusing on, we don't have enough African Americans in this photo. We don't have, our brand voice is not talking to necessarily me, the overlooked or the underserved, or, how can we make sure that we go about doing that collectively as an organization? So the biggest light bulb moment is just the understanding that people are not where I am necessarily, just because it comes natural to me, and also being able to have a slow process and understand that you don't have to do everything at once, because sometimes too much too soon can also look fake. So you don't want to go from having no diverse people in your photos and all of a sudden you got a hodgepodge of everybody and they're like, this isn't realistic. So you want to be mindful of that, and also be mindful that even in your organization, in community, that you have to meet people where they are, especially depending on where you are when it comes to your location and work. We're going to go fast and furious. This is something that we must do and that we need to do because it's the right thing to do when it comes to marketing. But we have to understand that we have to show and lead by example and take people along the way when we're dealing with our brand assets and things like that in community.
Yeah, hearing you say that, it's like you're building a relationship, a relationship that you want to be long lasting. It doesn't come quick. You have to get to know that person you're trying to build that thing with. And yeah, that's a light bulb moment for me hearing you say that. Yeah. But like I mentioned before, these questions came in through the Emerging Leaders and Women's United Fund. But you guys out in the audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask as well. And panelists, I know each question is for a specific panelist, but if you want to chime in, please do. Quincy, this one is for you. Through your current role at Chat State, what are some of the strategies you use with marketing teams to appeal to a broader, more diverse range of potential students? And what strategies have you seen work, and where are you pushing things to a greater level?
Yeah, so we're just having conversations now at our marketing team, because we have a wonderful, talented group of marketing individuals in our communications department here at Chat State. One of the things that we're really focusing on, in addition to reaching out to other populations, is we saw an increase of 18% of our Hispanic and Latino populations last fall, which is really quite wonderful when we consider all the hardships that our students were facing. But it's really just a testament to where our increasing populations just nationally are coming from. And so we are looking at, translating our marketing materials for the parents to engage families in the community. We had some great conversations with La Paz, Angela yesterday, Ashley yesterday. And we also have an Hispanic outreach committee that we just established on campus that we're really happy about. And so we're also encouraging difficult conversations. So how do we talk about things like race and ethnicity, but through a framework of kindness and understanding? with each other and just what that all means, because these aren't really isolated concepts. We're all here together. And so we're looking at having that in the fall. We're also looking at having possible open houses in Spanish so we can give tours in Spanish to our families who may not understand the higher ed process. And so they can get the information in Spanish too. And so they won't be barred. So it's just an addition to, it's not saying that we won't give tours in English, but we'll just have a more expanded access to the community. So we're really happy about that.
Yes, that's very, very exciting. I visit La Paz. They shout out, plug. They're having a new building getting built, and it's going to be really beautiful. So we're super excited about that. Lucia, many people are eager to hear from you regarding workforce development. When thinking about the importance of representing a corporate brand as a diverse and inclusive workforce, there's often a struggle between wanting to represent employees who are underrepresented, who are in underrepresented populations, but also not wanting to tokenize anyone. How do you think companies should balance these ideas in their attempt to engage diverse audiences?
So I think that's a really great question, and one that I can identify with. I would say coming out of the D&I role and into talent acquisition, as you think about what your employer brand is and what you want it to be about, I think it really is, first of all, that element of inclusion, right? It's really about advancement for all. So it isn't necessarily a particular group or a particular population. It really is, how are we training all of our associates? How are we, going back to what Donna said, meeting people where they are and understanding what that unique need is as we meet that need? And again, the beauty of diversity is each group, demographic, person, human, individual is going to have a different need. So I think it really is about, we are about an organization of inclusion, not exclusion. And to be fair, it's a delicate balance. It is a delicate balance because you want to, again, represent those that are in those underrepresented populations. You don't want to isolate those that might be in the majority group. And let's just be fair, sometimes that is the perception. And what you also don't want to do is create networks and spaces where it might be divisive, right? Because sometimes that's how it's viewed. It's viewed as where we're dividing versus, hey, we really are elevating those voices that might need to be elevated in a way that we can all benefit, we can all learn, we can all grow. So I would say it really starts with understanding, what is your inclusion strategy? How are you really connecting and reaching all? And then where are those unique pockets where a voice may need to be elevated, and making sure it's at the table and it's being heard and valued.
Hey, Leah, can I chime in a little bit?
Please do.
I definitely agree with Lucia a lot. And one of the things that I think organizations, one of the biggest misses is that we're so focused on getting things done internally that we also forget how we can empower externally. And I mentioned that a little bit earlier, but what I've noticed is, a lot of different organizations are starting these new DEI groups. And when you start the DEI groups, it's usually people that look just like me. Well, guess what? This is the walk that I've been walking, and I know me. Now, I can't speak on behalf of every African-American in the world at all, because Lucia might like popcorn, I might like Lay's potato chips. So we don't want to make the same assumption. But we don't want to make that same assumption. But there's also data that is out there, and there's also ways, so many classes that organizations need to be a part of. But one of the things that I think is vitally important is that if you are an organization, like she said, SHAW or Chattanooga State or even Chattanooga Tourism, it doesn't make sense if I'm doing marketing and I'm just holding it in. If I'm keeping all of the knowledge in it with internal, we're building our organization. The ultimate goal is to empower those partners with, hey, by the way, we're leading by example. So I'll give you an example. If I want to make sure that our videography is diverse, I have to be able to back up why I think our videography is diverse. And one of the examples I love to give is that we're currently going through all of our assets when it comes to marketing. So our website, our blogs, are we communicating enough, not just when it comes to a theme? It's not Black History Month, it's not Cinco de Mayo, it's not, Disability Awareness Month. We want to make sure that this is an ongoing thing. And so one of the things that we were doing was our team was having a conversation about, we really want to focus on Black history. Now, when I go to the team, I can say we should do it because it's the right thing to do, but there's proof in numbers. So one of the biggest searches on Google Trends is Black history. And when organizations understand that and not put people in a box because of that, they know who to target. As far as when you're reaching donors, if you're a nonprofit, you know who to target when it comes to your marketing materials, and you know that there can be partnerships from external and internal. So if I have all the knowledge, it means nothing. But if I empower our community to have that knowledge, then you're going to grow 10 times. You know what I mean? So I just want to make sure that we point out that it's great that we know people should not look just like us in those conversations, and that we want to continue to empower the people that are around. So because DEI is with everybody, or EDI, however you want to say it.
I completely agree. And I feel like it's not, and going back to tokenizing people, we're not the Black voice in that one room. Like you said, I don't speak for everyone. And that's part of that tokenizing thing that kind of gets frustrating at sometimes, but it's like they're trying, you get it, but let's not point me out. Let's talk to everyone.
And I think to that point as well, kind of going back to that tokenizing piece, the other part of the balance is in some organizations, you just have the representation that you have. And I think that delicate balance also is, how do I lean on those individuals because I know I need to, in order to continue to add potentially to that demographic, but how do I bring others along to be able to also have that dialogue, have that conversation, right? So let's just be honest. If I'm going to go reach out to an HBCU, I probably need to lean on a particular demographic back to meeting people where they are to meet that need and for them to understand, hey, here's who we are as an organization, as a company. And until we have the right potential numbers, so to speak, we might have to lean on folks a little bit more. But again, it's back to, it's not that individual representing one demographic only, it's a broader conversation. So how do we also have that delicate balance, not to wear folks out, but also they understand the need and the desire to help build what we're trying to build as an organization. But it can sometimes, it can be a delicate balance.
Sure.
One more thing, because I'm a Chia. I love what you just said, and I just got to say this, and I'll be quiet. Leah, I'll let you do it.
No, this is a conversation.
Yeah,
keep it going.
But one of the things that you go in an organization and look around, especially in Chattanooga, you have a lot of people of color that are the minority. We are. If you look around the world, we are the minority. And when you look around the room and you are working with leaders, or leaders are working with their employees, you have to be able to ask the question, and this is not just marketing, this is everything. You have to be able to ask the question and say, okay, we don't have a lot of people that are equipped to go out and speak on behalf of the organization, or to go out and do this work, or to go out and speak on this particular topic, except everybody looks like senior management, which is senior management might be all, Caucasian males. And there's nothing wrong with that right there, but it's time to change those things. Things are different now. Everybody's working towards it. So if you see that, it is your job to equip the people that may not necessarily have the title with that work, and give them to empower them, to give them the power to go out and speak on behalf. It is your job. It is my job to reach alongside of my colleagues to say, are you guys equipped with everything cultural that I'm talking about in the city? So it's the same thing when it comes to DEI. It is up to you to empower those people that are around you to be able to be inclusive even when you are not in the room, and even to be able to help them with upward mobility.
I was going to ask this question, but I feel like you might have hit some points, but I'm going to ask it again to see if you get some, this is for all panelists. So how have you grown through this civil unrest that we've been talking about during this year? And what has been your greatest hurdles or setbacks in EDI progress? And how have you pushed through those? So we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but we have other examples of that.
So, it was interesting. I started this job May 1st last summer. And then not too long after that, George Floyd happened and Breonna Taylor. And so here I am, this newly minted DEI officer, and I had to make a decision. People were like, hey, Quincy, what are we going to do about this? And I was brand new to Chattanooga. And so I really had to dig deep and just be honest and where we are, and just we sent out a letter, and we had really good leadership. Dr. Ashford, my boss, is wonderful. And so we've been learning, and so what we did, the first year I said, we really need some data. So working to Donna and Donna's and Lucia's point, you got to have an inclusive culture where you can reach across and say, hey, this is just not the brown and black people office. This is, everybody's a DEI officer, because we can all make human connections. We're all responsible for this work. So the climate survey using data has been really good. One, for increasing buy-in on campus, using data-driven recommendations that we can now implement across campus. And so just recognizing that we all need to have more bold and brave conversations about race, racism, and structural poverty, because wherever you go, there you are. Our students, Chattanooga State Community College, we really are, communities written, our mission's written in our name. And so when our students come from the community, they're bringing that same pain, the same hurt and struggles right here on across campus. There's no such thing as taking off one hat and put on the other. So we have to talk about that and address it. So we've had some conversations around microaggressions and what they really mean. And we've had a couple of trainings on campus about, we started our ERG, which are LGBTQ for faculty and staff, which has been really nice. We have an African-American ERG now. And ERG stands for Employee Resource Group. It really is just an affinity group. So we can just have a space to just share and talk. And so we're trying to change culture to make it more inclusive. So that way we'll kind of permeate what we do with our students and in the community. But it's been a growing experience for Chat State for sure. But I'm proud of us. And I think we have a long ways to go, but we are getting there. We just joined we got selected to join the Racial Equity Leadership Academy at the University of Southern California, one of 10 institutions in the nation. So we'll be going through a program to increase racial equity on campus. And so things are moving along and we're really happy.
I'll share next. For me personally, it's been an interesting year, interesting journey. At the time, last March, when everything, was happening, in society, I sat in the seat that Quincy was in. And for Shaw, the good thing is we had associate resource groups previously. And we were still kind of in the learning and evolution stage. What really are associate resource groups? How do we, have that dual ownership and business understanding with regards to what an ARG could bring to the business and what a business can learn from an ARG. We had recently and had for a while what we called roundtable conversations. Just in general, we call it table of contents, where the contents were race, the new family structure, veterans in the workplace, just different, kind of D&I topics. So we had kind of had a little bit of the foundation or the basis to have some conversation, but I don't know that we had truly cracked the nut, if I want to put it in that terms. And so, Shaw was gracious enough to allow our African American Network group, and I hosted I say roundtable, but we had 5 sessions where anywhere between 100 and 150 people joined each time. And some of our panelists were from our African American ARG. And just to hear the stories, their own personal stories of what it meant to them was eye-opening. And to have those in the audience just ask questions. I mean, real questions about what they were feeling, what they were thinking, what we were thinking, and oh my gosh, I've seen you all the time. I never ever thought that would happen to you. Or let's just be honest, I never thought something like that would happen to you at Shaw. I think it raised the level of awareness, if nothing else, to one, it's not about black, white, yellow, red. Like, we're all human beings. This is a human issue. And when you break it down back to, we are diverse so much that you don't see. There's so much commonality in that. And if we can connect on, hey, we're human first, what are those common things? Then we kind of add all that other stuff in, and that's what makes it beautiful. Fast forward, actually this week, we are having a second set of roundtable discussions. What I'm proud of is it's not just the Spectrum or African American Network that are on the panel. We've broadened the panel to talk about, hey, how have we evolved? Where are we versus last year? There are Caucasian males, there are others that are on the panel, because now we've, again, elevated that level of awareness that we all may have a different reaction to what's going on, but we need to talk about it and we need to be real about it. And I will say, the last year, Shaw has definitely gone up a level. We're not there yet. Anytime that we think we're there yet, we've missed the ball because it continues to move. But I've seen us move the pendulum just a little bit further, and I'm excited about it.
All right, Leah, I want to make sure I got the question right. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah. That's so beautiful, Lucia. I almost like dropped a tear. I'm not
It
even.
was.
It was so beautiful. We are human beings first. So the question is, how have you grown through the civil unrest that we've seen this past year, and what have been your greatest hurdles or setbacks within EDI progress, and how have you pushed through those?
I am going to give you two separate answers, and I'm going to tell you, there is the professional answer, and I'm going to give you the Donna L answer. So on the professional side, and they go together, but I got to be as truthful and let's start with the Donna L side. How am I doing? How was I doing? I was hurt. But thankfully, I've had people in the space that I'm in that I can lean on, whether that be a Quincy or a Lucia, or LaQuisha Ewan, like Valerie Armstrong. I can Kiki Mathis. I can name a list of people that I've had to stay in constant contact with so that I can have the support that I need when I feel like I'm breaking. And going through this period is two things that I have to understand. It goes back to what I've said before, and it's repetitive. I have to understand I have to meet people where they are, and they have to meet me where I am. This is new work for a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of people ready to protect, come up and protect. And this is something that I have dealt with as an African-American woman my entire life, so I don't need the protection, I need the support. With that being said, with that being said, there have been a lot of tears, but there have been a lot of wins, like Lucia mentioned. These are conversations that me and my friends have had for years. And these are conversations where people are finally opening up their ears and willing to listen. Because at first it's, I don't understand. I can't believe this is happening. I didn't notice this. And now it's like, whoa, now we're noticing. And I'm thankful that things happen like this, even though I don't like it, but it moves us along so there's a better understanding and people meet me where I am. So being an African-American, I can't speak on behalf of the Latino community or Latina community. I can't speak on behalf of people that have disabilities in our accessibility community, people that are 20. Me and my son do not think the same way. I don't speak on behalf of people that are 60 years old. And I have to understand, as Lucia said, we're human first. So with that being said, in your organizations, we do have to be willing to listen and hear people. So if there's a decision that you're making quick, fast, and in a hurry, we have to make sure that we bring the right people to take to the table and have the conversations. Now, on a professional note, let me change gears. When it comes to our organization, the Chattanooga Tourism Company, I'll never forget when I first started there 2 years ago. Adrienne Terry, she's our leader of our DEI council at our organization. We both went to our CEO and we were like, hey, are you going to hire someone for DEI? She had been talking about it before I got there. And one thing I loved about what our CEO said, he said, this is not a one-person job. This is for all of our team to do. And at first I did have an attitude, but if you do not have the team's buy-in, you're not going to get the support that you need. People are going to think that all the work is supposed to be on you. And with everybody having a hand in it, when I'm away, when Adrienne's away, when Barry's away, other team members on our DEI council that meet monthly, everybody's talking about it. My supervisor's talking about it. The team is talking about it. So that is a win. And I had a few notes. We're meeting weekly. We are vetting all of our the organization, from how we talk to our partners. What does that look like? We're focusing on policy and procedures. We've made some changes with that to include a lot of different things. We put out a statement when things initially happen. With that being said, sometimes in organizations, or even within organizations, you see a lot of people that say, hold up, they're not doing this and you're not doing that. My word to you in organizations is stay the course, because this stuff is ongoing. We have to stop reacting to things immediately, because it's the savior mentality. It needs to be more so we're staying the course, where this is something long-term, whether it's in marketing, whether it is in HR, whether it's in higher education, whether it's in the school system, whether it be at a retail store. This is how we are going to do things long-term. And if we're so reactive about things, if we're responding too quick, and you are not asking not just one Black person, not just one person that's LGBTQ+, not just one person that's Latino, if you are getting around having these conversations, you're gonna get different perspectives. And we have to be intentional about that during that process.
If you're okay, I'd like to add to what and kind of bounce off of what Donna shared, two just quick things. One, when you talk about perspectives, one of the questions that we got last year was, have you turned people off on social media that have a different thought than you? Because, I saw a lot of that going on. And I had to be honest, there were some things that I saw that I was like, ooh, I wish I didn't see that. But the role that I was in, I felt like I couldn't turn off. Like, I have to be connected to what's going on. And if I'm telling others to be open-minded to others' perspectives, how can I turn people off because they have a different perspective than I do? So I had to keep it real with me. Now, that was draining. I had to find other self-care methods to kind of make sure that didn't seep in, and to keep me going, right? And others going, because there was an element of it. Let's take advantage of the moment, but remember that it's a movement, right? Because I think a lot of folks, to Donna's point, reaction. One of the things that we kind of charged our organization with is, hey, go find someone that you don't normally talk to, doesn't look like you, isn't in your circle. You might want to look at your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn, like, how diverse, whatever you define diversity to be, how diverse is your network, and how diverse are the perspectives that you're getting, on a day-to-day basis. So I think, I just wanted to, when Donna was talking, I was like, okay, yes, I recognize that around that perspectives piece. I think the other piece around not being reactionary, society is, I think, at a point where they're not going to allow us to be reactionary, right? So going back to me being in the TA space, so many of our candidates, if I think about business, so many business partners, right? RFPs are coming through, and they're like, hey, outside of just business and how our business relationship can benefit us both, what are you doing in the area of D&I or DEI? What's in your organization that I need to understand, even beyond the minority business question, which I think was probably one of the more standard questions. It's really, tell us, how are you moving D&I forward? I have candidates that are like, hey, what's your position on X? What's your position as an organization on Y? Because those societal issues, and as we think about the generations that are coming into the workforce, I can speak for corporate America and the workforce specifically, they are tied and connected to what's going on in society. They're not going to put their dollars, they're not going to come work for an organization whose values don't align to their values. So going back to, I know one of the questions was, what are those strategies? Get clear on what your organizational, not just strategy, but values are. We might differ on how to strategize, but if our values are the same, again, all those perspectives come together, create the right strategy.
And to piggyback off Lucia on that too, it's speaking of like taking care of yourself and being other perspectives and seeing that, she's absolutely right. We have to kind of see the other side of things to understand what's going on. And, as a Black man, it's hard to see other Black men get murdered on camera. It's even harder to see other Black men get murdered on camera and no one face justice for it. especially as an openly gay Black man, and that intersectionality, and that comes into focus. And so, we just all need to extend each other a little more grace. And when we talk about, assuming positive intent, sometimes people don't deserve the benefit of the doubt. If something's blatantly racist, then that's pretty clear. But if someone makes a mistake and it is a microaggression, hey, yeah, I know you didn't mean to stab me, but the knife still cut. We need to have those conversations about why some of those are problematic. So language matters. And when she said that this new generation is coming up, a lot of our students are reaching out to me and say, hey, Quincy, I'm glad you're here. What about pronoun usage? And what about my identity? And what do we do for Black Lives Matter? So they are holding me accountable, which I'm very thankful for, because they are well beyond the pale than some of us are giving them credit for. And so we're going to change, or we might go the way of a Blockbuster. We have to make sure that we ride the current wave of society, because things are going to change and people are demanding justice. Justice on multiple levels, whether it's gender inequity, like the women's soccer team right now not getting paid more than the male soccer team. That's just the broadest symptom of society. And so when they come to Chattanooga State, we want to make sure that we're hearing them and we're learning from them as well. So it's not just a top-down approach.
So good. So good. We do have a question from the audience. I think Quincy mentioned data in your answer a few minutes back, but do you feel like Chattanooga has updated data on the makeup on its population? How do you manage local data to target different audiences?
We recruitment and marketing, we have to use data of the local community. And sometimes it just happens to us. We get it by proxy of being an institution. So we collect data as people are enrolling, which is a reflection of the larger community. And so we have to just be thoughtful and intentional. Going back to Danielle's point about being reactionary to everything, we can't address things as they come along, because then you lose the opportunity to engage with the entire community, to have really thoughtful conversations. So now one of my bit focus on mine is just engaging, kind of resetting some relationships, and partnering with the NAACP. We had a great meeting with the NAACP about providing mentors. And so we'd love to work with other community members, if you all are here and listening to us, to see how we can work together. But we need to do the same for all our populations, because it is the human to human game. If we don't have those relationships, those basic one-on-one relationships, none of this really matters.
So I want to chime in a little bit about data. So on our end, we're coming from a tourist perspective, who comes to Chattanooga, who visits Chattanooga, and something that we're capturing right now and doing research on is through Arrivalist and also Longwood's data. So that also tells you a little bit about the interest, a little bit about the diverse audiences that come to the city, what the age group looks like. Our biggest visitors, the people that travel the most, are women. And so when we think about our markets and how our segment markets and our target markets, how are we going to look at that a little differently? Because he asked about Chattanooga data, and we do have some Chattanooga data, but we usually lean on our partnerships for that, whether that be the Chamber or River City. So we want to make sure that we're working hand in hand with those partnerships. But one of the things that we want to be mindful is that I've been a part of a lot of groups where we're doing surveys, and we are asking, hey, we want to make sure that we're intentional about reaching out to as many diverse audiences as we can to capture the information. And I say that, but even on my end, it's hard, because let's go back. We don't have conventional media like we used to. So it used to be back in the day. I loved it then when you used to watch 3, 9, and 12, and then 61 was a next channel, or you had 3 different radio stations that were the top focus, and people would go to one place. Well, now when it comes to marketing, everybody is everywhere. So we're really, really focusing on social media. Well, your 70-year-old grandmother that visits Chattanooga is not necessarily, she might be on there, but she's not necessarily watching it. So how do we target to her? So it's been very interesting being able to capture data and being able to be mindful of that. But once we get that data, once we have it, we also have to stop making, I keep saying this, judgments and assumptions, because you know, I always give this analogy of Steve Harvey on Family Feud, right? So he says, survey says out of 100 people, so-and-so thought. Well, guess what? That survey is limited to a particular group of people. And again, they can't speak for the wide range and the majority of everyone because survey says. So if we're doing a survey or any organization that's doing a survey, it's usually kind of a particular target audience who you're trying to reach, and they can't speak for everybody. So one of the things, I'm really good friends with Allison Leibovitz, and I was saying sometimes we market, there's always, because I believe the underserved should be marketed too. I do agree, but especially in our city, we've missed the mark of marketing to the Donnas that are in the city, people that are in my age group, you know, I'm 20, but people that are in my age group that are professionals. And I say, and Allison said, Donna, it's not the underserved, it's the overlooked. And sometimes we want to be mindful, especially when I think about from our group, when we are marketing to visitors, I want to be really, really mindful of the interests that they have. So I don't want to assume that one of the things that we say is African Americans love Black owned. So really, you know, bringing in small businesses and promoting that. So we really promote that. But guess what? That doesn't interest me. I love Black owned, everybody, by the way. But that's my thing is I want to be outdoors and hiking and buy Black owned. So we have to start making sure that we are not just focusing just on the data, because the data cannot speak for everybody unless it's for sure concrete. It's based on the audience that you have surveyed.
So good. Such a great point. And like you, Donna, I really like hiking. And that's one thing I love about Chattanooga. Don't go often because I got a little one, but it's like, love it too. We do have another question from the audience. How has COVID hurt your strategies for equitable marketing? Or has it?
I can say it's helped. I can say this has been an opportunity for us to sit down and dissect and research and that data versus, you know, unfortunately, we didn't want anything that we've experienced to happen. But because we are virtual and in a virtual space, we can do meetings a lot quicker and we can have quicker conversations. So one of the things that it has helped us with is that we're really looking at 2019 data. I was on a phone call with LaQuisha the other day saying, hey, we're talking about 2019 data because that was the last concrete time that everybody was kind of out and about and doing their thing. So I think this has been an opportunity to just show that even with a virus like this, it does not matter your demographic, age, or background, or socioeconomic status, you can catch it. And it's hitting everyone. In some communities, it's hitting more because of you know, health concerns and underlying issues, yes. But this has been an opportunity, I believe, for us to really sit back and have opportunity to be in more meetings and have conversations about how we can really market to our audience and define who our market is. Like Lucia said, define what our statement is going to be in our conversation. This is a time for us to collaborate as organizations and do that. And that's what we've done with our organization.
Yeah, I would just add, you know, I don't think by any stretch of the imagination it was coincidental that the societal issues and the pandemic happened at the same time. It definitely caused the flashlight to be placed on disparities in general. And so, to Donna's point, it gave us an opportunity to pause. And because the virtual nature, you know, all of us at some point pivoted to virtual, whether you understood it, you knew it, you liked it, you didn't, it caused us to pivot. And because we recognized that that was honestly a mainstay with how people were connecting to whatever entity they were trying to connect to, we made sure we were deliberate to get it more right, not perfect, but to get it more right. So it really caused us to maybe have that hourglass or that inspection to say, oh, wow, where are we missing the boat? You know, and I really hope that, and I continue to say, a lot of folks are kind of like, oh, I can't wait to get back to normal. I don't want us to get back to normal. If we lose the message that we were supposed to learn in this period, shame on us. Necessity is the creation of, invention. So many great things were invented during this past year, year and a half. I hope we keep the good, leave the bad, but keep the good and continue to innovate on that, because there was a need. We just didn't recognize the need. We didn't pause long enough to understand the need. But now that we recognize it and understand it, shame on us if we don't capitalize on it for the better. So I don't think it was coincidence at all. It's just a matter of how much of the lesson do we want to learn? Because I know I don't want to repeat this situation to learn it again, let me tell you.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that's a wonderful point. Speaking of the silver linings in such a horrible dark cloud that we are going through and experiencing, we're now looking at, well, some people can work from home, and that does provide flexibility and employee retention. It's something that we really never thought about without the pandemic. And now we've had speakers to come from New York and California because it's been virtual. And so it's they would never be able to fly. We couldn't afford to fly to campus and all these things. So there have been some great things that I hope stick around with the pandemic. And I also have a community of support, Donna and Chia and LaQuisha and Dion Jenkins. So, it's been a wonderful time just to meet people through Zoom, especially me being here. And it's been kind of my own community support and practice doing this work. And now you too, Leah.
Now I was gonna say, I would like when we met before this, it was so great to see y'all virtual. I can't wait to meet y'all in person, Quincy and Lucia. I've known Donna since I was a little girl and listened to her on 106 in Park, Lord Jesus, Power 94. But yeah, so I'm so happy I got to meet you guys. But going back to HR, it can be hard to go through resumes. Lucia, I think this one's towards you. To go through resumes to find great candidates. How do you look for, this is a question from the audience. What do you look for when searching for candidates, and how do you make sure you're being equitable in selecting those individuals you want to interview?
Really great question. So one of the things that we do here, before we even get to the point of posting a job, it's really understanding what do I need in the role at this time. And I think one of the things that, organizations could fall prey to is someone vacates a role, we just go right back to what was the last job posting, hurry up and get it filled quickly, post it, let's just get someone. And we don't take the time to really, again, pause and understand what are the dynamics on my team today? Where is my business heading? And so what are the competencies? What are the characteristics? What are the skills that I need right now? So I think that's step one, getting very clear on what we call a success profile. What competencies, what knowledge targets, experience targets am I looking for? And then that helps the recruiters be able to work with their hiring managers to say, okay, I know the type of candidate pool that I'm trying to attract. So I think that's step one. Step two is, blinders off. So as you're looking through candidates, that's what we're focusing on. We're not focusing on their name. We're not focusing 100% on all of, their experience, because experience gives one perspective. But then when we phone screen, there's that relatability, there's that we say motivational fit. And one of the things that I would, from a strategic standpoint, share with the audience, a lot of times we talk about cultural fit, different than motivational fit. Motivational fit is about, hey, are you connected to this job? Are you going to stay in this role long, et cetera? Cultural fit, we talk about, like, how does this person, will they blend with our culture? And I think that's great. I challenge all of us to think about cultural add. Cultural fit sometimes can sound like, I want this person to come in and do what we do. Sometimes you need that person who's going to come in and provide the right level of challenge to take you to where your organization needs to go. So I think it's that combination. What is the success profile? What do you need right now? Hiring manager, recruiter, really getting connected on that to really source and identify the right candidates, take the blinders off, everybody's on the same page. And then let's look at not just motivational fit and cultural fit, but also cultural add.
That I love that so much. Pausing and actually realizing what do you need in that moment, and cultural add, all good things. I know we're running short on time, but we do have one more question from the audience. See if we can do it real quickly, and this is for anyone. Are you finding that you have to guard your time and energy by not engaging in conversations with others who do not sincerely want to have constructive conversations, whether in person or on social media, and they simply just want to engage in negative conversations? We kind of touched on it a little
Well,
bit.
this is also can be a touchy one too. I don't believe that any human is beyond, reaching. I mean, some people do have some other issues going on. Some people are just harder to reach than others. However, there's a fine line between, freedom, speaking openly, and causing harm. So you can you have to judge it situational. We have maybe some people we've on social media who just are never happy. You can kind of tell maybe they're just kind of really spoiling for debate about something that doesn't matter. So you have to recognize that. And then do you really want to get down to the weeds, write this on social media? Or do you want to invite this person in to have a face-to-face conversation? It's a lot harder to hate up close. You'll find out sometimes people don't show up. So my strategy is, hey, you know what? If you want to talk about this, let's schedule a meeting and come to my office. We can really just talk about this in a nice space. And sometimes people take me up on it, and they've been kind of interesting. But I've learned a lot in the process with that, kind of encouraging those courageous chats that we call here at Chattanooga State. Just effective listening skills and giving people the opportunity to just kind of be heard and feel listened to and just feel validated. It's like, yeah, I hear that. Yeah, okay. I need to learn more about that because I need to see where you're coming from. But once you schedule a face-to-face meeting, you'll see who shows up, who doesn't really quickly. That's a nice filtering mechanism that I found to be productive.
So social media is, what I'm thinking about as far as from our Chattanooga tourism company, we have people from all over the world. And it goes back again to the saying, if y'all don't get anything from me, meet people where they are. I tell my friends that, I tell my son that you got to meet people. I tell myself that you have to meet people where they are. And sometimes when you go too fast, there is going to be, again, a reaction. And so we want to be able to understand that because people have not seen a lot of diversity, they're not necessarily used to it, but they need to get used to it. So this is something, again, where it's not a themed month or every blue moon we put in diverse people and things like that. If it's consistent, eventually it will become the norm. So what I've seen is that it hasn't been the norm yet, and people are taken back by some of the things that I've seen posted in several different organizations. But you also have to be able to decide, how do you respond to that? There also needs to be an internal conversation about how should we respond and when should we respond. Now, that's the professional side. On the Donna side, I go to guard your space because I have I have a diverse group of friends. And I do want to give Dion Jenkins a big shout out. I love Dion a lot because she has been in a space where she has taught me along the way a lot with a lot of things. And Elizabeth Williams, I want to give her a shout out. I love doing that. But these two women are a part of my friend circle. So when there is something personal and I've said I've had a hard day, you have to have friends that you can bounce those conversations off of and they give you feedback. And then also people that don't look like me, I'm having those conversations with. And I'm saying, hey, here's a teachable moment. You can't say that to me. Or, well, why? And we can't be upset when people ask us questions because this is a learning stage. Sometimes I used to be fearful of what I would say in my job. And I think all of us on this call, because we're standing up for ourselves, am I going to still have this job after I say this? Well, after George Floyd died at the hands of police officers, I will take that risk because I have a beautiful 25-year-old son. So I'm okay with speaking up because I'm speaking up for him and I'm speaking up for young leaders like you, Leah, and other emerging leaders that are out there that may not necessarily even look like me. We have to have that voice out there. So I'm with that being said, we just want to be mindful as we continue to, like Lucia said, this is not anything that's just here right now. This needs to be ongoing. And if we continue to commit to that with each other and commit to learning and commit to when people are trying, let's stop beating them up so bad because they don't know. Heck, I don't know. So we want to be mindful when when I have someone that doesn't look like me and say, Donna, I think that, you're great for this. And I'm like, well, that offended me. Let me tell you why, instead of just going off and then that person didn't learn anything and they go out and do it again. So we just want to be mindful during that process. And as we're mindful during that process, then we're just going to learn. We're going to continue to learn.
I would just say real quickly, the same way that I want people to see the world through my lens, I have to learn how to see the world through their lens. They haven't lived my experience, I haven't lived theirs. And so it's that dialogue that really gets us to, now my job is not to convince you. My job is just to open your mind to recognize that there is additional perspectives that are out there. I won't argue, but I definitely will dialogue.
Thank you guys so much. And I really hope that we are going to see each other in person really soon. I would love to continue this conversation with you guys. But it is 1 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up and pass it on to Mary Catherine.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Quincy, Donna, Lucia, Leah, that was such a wonderful conversation. I loved what you said, Lucia, about necessity as the creation of invention. I thought that was that really resonated with me. And I hope this whole conversation resonated with everyone who attended. So thank you all so much for being here. The session was recorded. We'll share it with you via email. And we will also share our panelists and our moderators' contact information if you want to reach out to them for anything. So hope you all enjoy the rest of your beautiful Tuesday afternoon. See you later.